We're joined today by singer-songwriter Gareth Dunlop. He's got a new album out. It's called Animal, and he's on tour. He's coming to the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis on May 20th. Hey, Gareth, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm hanging in there.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, thanks for having me on the show.
Well, first of all, can you tell the listeners a bit about your music, and maybe if they haven't discovered you yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been singing, playing guitar, writing songs for over 20 years now. I started when I was around 14. I picked up an electric guitar. I bugged my mum and dad to buy me this guitar that I saw in a catalog magazine, and it quickly became a bit of an addiction. And then I started flirting with the idea of writing my own songs, and I ended up out in Nashville, doing a lot of co-writing and writing for film and television. And throughout that, I've been releasing EPs and singles, and I've just released my second full-length album. It's called Animal, and it's a little bit of a sidestep from what I've done previously. I'm essentially a singer-songwriter. I play guitar, piano, and I sing songs. And for this record, I kind of wanted to stretch myself a little bit and bring in some sounds that I haven't used before. So there's some synths and stuff on there, and some drum programming.
Excellent. Yeah, you're still a pretty young guy, but with your voice and your songwriting, I assumed you were a lot older. Has it has it been a grizzled life in Belfast, or I mean, how do you sound so seasoned being so young?
You know what? I probably have to. Thankfully, I don't smoke anymore. But I started smoking when I was pretty young, and I think that might have something a little bit to do with it.
Well, I know as a musician from Ireland, it seems, at least for people from the States here, is it tough for you to make your own way and find your voice, or because it seems like a lot of journalists and promoters, from the States, kind of instinctively want to compare you to maybe U2 or Van Morrison. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. I mean, I think you have to be true to your influences. And I listen to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of different types of music, and I find personally inspiration in all of it. So I take it, when people compare the Van Morrison, the U2 stuff, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I listened to that stuff growing up. That stuff has played a massive role in my musical upbringing. So yeah, I take all that with a smile.
And I know so many of your songs have found their way onto soundtracks for films and TV shows. What does that do for your career? I imagine one song on a popular show, it's got to be worth 100 tours maybe when it's all said and done.
It's when that stuff happens, it's always a pinch me moment. It does help in a lot of ways. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been watching a movie or watching a TV show, and I've heard something, and immediately went, all right, okay, turn the lights on. We got to find out who that is. Who's this person singing? And then, you go down the rabbit hole and you've just discovered a new artist. So it is a great way, and it can be a great catalyst, I guess, to get your music out there and get it heard.
And you're going to be heading our way here. You're playing at the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis on May 20th. Have you played much in Minnesota before?
You know what? I think I did, and I'm pretty sure it was a house concert that I played with Kim Ritchie. This is probably going back 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting there, to getting your way and I'm playing there. It's the tour so far, there hasn't been a bad night. It's been very, very enjoyable and amazing to be back on stage again after all this time away from it.
And you're playing with a couple other guys from Ireland that you played with in the past, right?
I am indeed, yes. So I'll be opening up the show for Foy Vance. Foy, the big inspiration of mine. I used to sneak into pubs and clubs back home in Belfast when I was about 14, 15, to see him, and also Lee Rogers, who's also going to be performing. He's on the tour as well. So yes, it's a weird, strange full circle kind of moment. Watching both those guys as a young kid, and they're both massively responsible for me, wanting to get on this road and follow this journey. So to be out here in the States, opening up shows for them and playing in Foy's band, and producing both of their records, and just being involved, a little band of brothers, it's special. It really is special.
Awesome. And again, you'll be at the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis, May 20th. And that's a great venue. I mean, it's not like one of the super humongo domes, but it's a pretty good size room. And definitely, I think for your kind of music, it's more of an intimate feel. So I think that'll be a great show.
Oh, cool. That's great to hear. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
And Gareth, you mentioned your new album just released, Animal. You said you tried some different things on there, maybe? Some of the listeners might be in for a surprise.
Yeah, it goes back to, being true to your, to what's inspiring you over the moment. I started listening to more kind of synth based music, and I guess it was always kind of there in my head somewhere. I grew up with, I was the youngest of four. So I kind of grew up on my two older sisters, on their musical tastes. So there's a lot of 80s 80s music getting pumped out of their bedroom. But yeah, I kind of started messing with some 80s synths, and kind of went down a bit of a wormhole with it, down a rabbit hole, I should say. And I wanted to try to find a way to kind of blend that into what I've always done, and to still try to preserve the singer-songwriter kind of style, but try and stretch it out a little.
Well, it seems like what's old is new again, and stuff from the 80s definitely is making a huge comeback. Guys like me who grew up around that time, I think are excited to kind of see those sounds and those kind of songs making a comeback.
Yeah, there's a nostalgic quality to it, isn't it? It's like a big old comfort blanket.
Are you performing everything on the album? I know you play a lot of instruments, or do you have some other musicians maybe working with you?
A lot of the record was cut during lockdown, or at least finished during the lockdowns, the pandemic. So I didn't have access to a lot of the folks that would normally come over to the studio. So it was a good learning curve. Trying to play drums, I can play a little bit, but there's a big difference between me sitting behind a kit and someone who does that for a living. But yeah, for the most part, everything on there was played by myself. There's a couple of songs that I had my drummer play on before the pandemic, and there's some other features there. Great musicians, Kevin Daly and Adam Booth. It was an interesting one to put together.
Well, yeah, that's if you're playing the instruments and you're doing the songwriting and you're able to produce it as well, you don't get knocked off track like a lot of other people probably did the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's, I guess, the pandemic, the lockdown. I've always had some form of a studio in my home, so it wasn't really a massive change of pace or a massive change, of my day to day. I feel like I've been, being a studio engineer, a studio guy, I feel like I've been preparing myself for the pandemic for probably 15 years, just being locked away all the time. But it was, I guess that was the silver lining to the whole thing, to be able to continue to work and to continue to try to create.
Well, I'm glad it all worked out. And again, Animal, the album is out now, and you're on tour, coming to the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis on May 20th. Gareth, is there anything else maybe in the works, or other stuff we should be looking out for?
After this run of shows, I'm going to be back home for a bit, and then I'm going to be back out again with Foy towards the end of August, September. And after that, there's a bunch of songs that that didn't make the album for a lot of different reasons. A lot of ideas are half baked, choruses and hooks. So I think I'm kind of thinking about going into the studio maybe in the fall and seeing what's lying around, and maybe trying to get the next project up off its feet.
All right, man. It's been great speaking with you, and I'm excited that you're on tour here, and the new album sounds great. And thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dustin. Great to talk to you. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, you bet, man. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
And again, that was musician Gareth Dunlop. His new album, Animal, is out now, and he's on tour. He'll be coming to the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis on May 20th.